care, Michael Jackson had an absolute, total, and thorough inability to sleep.
I'm here to get justice for Michael Jackson.
Your Honor, I am an innocent man.
He was not an anesthesiologist. He was not board certified in cardiology. Conrad Murray was not board certified in any medical specialty. Michael Jackson's death was a homicide. Did you see Conrad Murray again?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you?
Turn on the lights.
Sure, Your Honor. Thank you.
Or do you need it?
Go that flat, please.
This test?
After you personally saw Conrad Murray walk toward that area, did you personally see Conrad Murray again?
No, sir.
Okay. But you don't know where he went?
No.
Okay. You don't know if he re-entered the building or not?
The hospital?
Correct.
No, sir.
Okay. But this depicts where you were at the time you saw Conrad Murray walk toward the exit?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said earlier, Mr. Muhammad, that you didn't see any medical equipment, but you did see an IV stand in the room. Remember that?
Yes.
Do you recall where the IV stand was when you came into the room?
Yes, I believe it was near the bed, to the right, to the far side of the bed.
Okay. And did you make any observations about the IV stand one way or another?
No, sir.
Okay. Let me show you a picture. This would be marked People's 25, Your Honor.
It is.
Showing you People's 25. No. Switch back to Elmo, Your Honor. Can you see an IV stand in this picture, People's 25, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes.
Okay. And I know the quality on this Elmo's 4, but do you see in this picture it has what appears to be a saline bag and some tubing hanging from it?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember seeing that one way or another on June 25th?
No, sir.
Okay. I mean, you one way or another, you just don't recall seeing it one way or another?
I recall seeing an IV stand in the
Okay.
room. I just don't recall whether or not Dad was already hooked up to it or not.
Okay. Now, after you were in the lobby area, what did you do while at UCLA?
After I spoke with Dr. Murray?
Yeah, in the lobby area where you described seeing Conrad Murray walking, what did you do after that?
I went back and spoke with his, I went back to where his children were, because I believe at that time they were getting ready to take his children to go see his body or something, and we were still working. So even though I was dealing with that, it wasn't a major part, because at this time we didn't know what was going on. So I was still working. I was still actively working.
At some point, did you leave and get in the vehicles to go somewhere?
Yes.
Okay, and with whom did you leave?
With the security team that we came with.
Okay. Do you remember specifically who you were with? Or?
Yes. Michael Amir, Alberto Alvarez, I believe Isaac, other security guards. I'm not sure exactly who was there.
Okay. And where did you go?
I'm not sure where we were headed, but I remember we received a call while we were driving saying that the detectives are at the house. They would like for you guys to come back to the house and question them.
Okay, and did you do so?
Yes.
Okay. And did you speak to the police once you got back to Carrollwood?
Yes.
Okay. And did you give a brief interview at that time?
Yes, I did.
And then later, on August 31st, 2009, did you give a more detailed interview?
Yes.
Okay. And that was with the detectives that are actually assigned to the case?
Yes.
And at that time, did you tell them everything you recalled that you thought was relevant about the case as far as what you could remember?
Yes.
Okay. And you were truthful?
Walden, thank you. Cross-examination. Turn off.
Mohammed, you see Dr. Murray in this video?
Yes.
You see the timestamp is at 16:32?
Yes.
Do you know who he's talking to right now?
No, sir, I can't tell.
Okay. Are you in the video?
No, sir, not that I see.
Where are you while this is going on?
I'm not sure.
You know? Where were you at 4:30?
I don't know, sir.
Don't know. Were you outside the glass walls?
As I said, I was actively working, so throughout that 5-6 hour period that we were at the hospital, I was in a variety of places.
You see Dr. Murray just standing there, right?
Yes.
Talking to some people. Right?
Yes.
Turn off.
Is this a
new exhibit?
No, it's just continuation.
All right. I just want to be clear.
Using a different method of showing it.
Thank you.
Well, to be precise, our exhibit was a clip, so the exhibit that is being presented so far is the clip that has been played. This is a lengthier version.
Well, in view of that, I think we should mark it as a separate exhibit. Do you want to mark A?
Sure. Yes, that's fine, but this is part of the people's CD. I'm just playing.
No, that's what I just said. It's not.
Oh, they didn't, not the whole thing. Oh, okay.
So this is new. Defense A is an alpha.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we see Dr. Murray here in this video, right?
Yes.
When you were at the hospital, you traveled. How did you get to the hospital?
We drove.
Who's we?
Myself and the other security that I was with.
Okay. Did you drive in the Escalade?
Yes.
Okay. But where was your car?
My car?
Yes, your car.
My car was still at Mr. Jackson's house.
So you left it at Mr. Jackson's house?
Yes. Well, I was actually with my wife that day, so she took my car eventually, but at the time that we left, it was still at Mr. Jackson's house.
So how did you get home that day?
My wife came and got me later that night.
Okay. But you know that Dr. Murray's car was left at Mr. Jackson's house. You remember that, right?
Excuse me?
You remember that Dr. Murray's car was left at
Yes.
Mr. Jackson's house?
Yes.
And he came to the hospital in the ambulance.
Yes.
So he had no way to get home if he didn't have someone else drive him. Right?
There's taxis, buses, there's a variety of ways to transport yourself if you need to leave or go somewhere.
But he had to transport himself. You didn't offer to take him, right?
No.
And he asked, can you go help me get my car? And you said no.
Yep.
Okay. So he had...
He never asked, can he help go get his car? He asked if we could take him back to his house because of the cream. He asked if we could take him back to his house because he needed to get something, and he asked about getting something to eat. He never spoke on his vehicle.
So he never asked you to go get his car?
No, sir.
He told you he wanted to go get something to eat?
Yes.
And he asked you to take him to get something to eat?
Yes.
Now, so at the end of the day, you went home. You went to Mr. Jackson's house, right? And your wife came and picked you up
Yes.
and took you home.
Yes.
And when you left, at the end of the day, you saw that Dr. Murray's car was still at the Jackson residence.
Yes.
Okay. May I continue, Judge, for this? Please. Can I borrow your pointer? Okay, thank you. I'm going to point up here to the top left-hand section of this room. This little enclave here. Do you see where I'm pointing?
Yes.
It's...
Just raise your hand and ask me. One of our judges is asking you something. So what we'll do is we'll get the lights for you request. You're welcome. You're number 10.
Spin both sets if you can. In fact, it's a little bit better for you all. You see this little enclave in here that's off this room?
Yes.
Do you know who was in that enclave?
No, sir.
Do you know what's going on in that little enclave?
No, sir.
Did you ever go in there?
Yes.
Why did you go in there?
I'm not sure at the time why we were. I do remember entering that room. I believe we spoke to the detectives in that room.
That's what I was going to ask you. The detectives were set up in this little room here.
Yes.
Okay. And this is Dr. Murray right here. I'm pointing to the figure here on the bottom, right?
Yes.
Is that Dr. Murray?
Yes.
Do you know who Dr. Murray's hugging in this portion of the video?
No, sir.
Prior to Dr. Murray leaving, did you ever see him go talk to the police and tell them that he was leaving?
No, sir.
You don't know, actually, based on your memory, you don't know whether Dr. Murray even left the hospital at that time, do you?
Excuse me?
You don't even know whether Dr. Murray left the hospital at the time that you didn't see him anymore.
I watched Dr. Murray leave the hospital, if that's what you're asking.
So, you said you saw Dr. Murray go through these glass walls here. Is that right? And you're saying you watched him leave the hospital at that point?
I watched him walk away from the hospital, yes, sir.
This is marked offense B, Judge.
B is in Bravo, and it's described as
62509-16479. It's a video titled 16479 we received and discovered.
video. B is in Bravo.
You see the timestamp on this particular video?
Yes.
1702?
Yes.
Go back just a little bit. You recognize this hallway, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes.
What is that hallway?
It's the hallway of the hospital.
You recognize that man walking right there through the hallway? Does that look like Dr. Murray to you?
Yes.
At 5:02, right?
Yes.
What time did you leave the hospital? I'm not going to show any more videos.
Can we turn
Yes.
the light?
Yes, please.
Mr. Tense?
What time did you leave the hospital?
Not sure, sir.
Can you estimate for us?
No, sir.
Could it have been 6?
I can't estimate. When you're dealing with a situation like that, time is really hard to gauge how long we were even there, honestly.
So it could have been 5:30, could have been 6, could have been 6:30, right? Is that right?
I don't want to give the time, sir.
You just don't know.
No, sir.
The first time you made a statement, Mr. Muhammad, about this cream, this request for the cream, was on August 31st, 2009, right?
Yes, sir.
And you made that statement in the same office at the same time as Alberto Alvarez making his statement. You were in the same office.
Yes, indeed. At the time of the interview?
All right, let me just say,
We asked it, but
where were you when you made your statement?
When I made my statement, I was at my lawyer's office.
All right. And who else was there?
The detective.
Yes, indeed. Would be specific at the time of the interview?
Who refers to what other human beings were there? Was Alberto Alvarez there?
at the time of the interview.
Yes.
No, sir.
Now, remember, I'm asking, was he in the lawyer's office? Was Alberto Alvarez in the lawyer's office?
Well, objection made. He said the interview took place in the office. Is the question, was Alberto Alvarez present during the interview?
Well, that was asked, and he said no, and then he said he was in the lawyer's office. I'm asking,
We don't need the arguments. I think the whole series of questions may be a little bit confounding. So would you refine, please? Sustain.
your lawyers, they had offices,
Yes.
and these offices were connected, a lot of them?
Yes.
They had waiting rooms?
Yes.
They had hallways?
Yes.
A little kitchen, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Was Alberto Alvarez anyone in there?
When I gave my statement, I'm not sure.
Well, did you travel with Alberto Alvarez up
No,
there?
sir.
Did you see Alberto Alvarez prior to making your statement on that day?
No, I can't recall.
You can't recall? Is that your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Not that he wasn't there, you just can't remember?
I can't remember if I seen him before I made my testimony.
Did you see him after?
I don't recall.
All right. How about Michael Amir Williams? Do you recall seeing him there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you ever worked with Alberto Alvarez before? Before you started working? Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry, Judge, about that. You started working for Michael Jackson in October of 2008.
Yes.
Had you ever worked with Alberto Alvarez before that time?
No.
All right. Had you ever worked with Michael Amir Williams before that time?
No.
But you knew him,
Yes.
and you knew him for 10 years.
Yes.
Where did you meet him?
Who are you speaking of?
Where did you meet Michael Amir Williams?
That's irrelevant, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection. 350, 352. Socially, in a professional capacity?
Michael Amir Williams.
No, just answer. Socially or professionally?
Social. Thank you.
All right, let's go to. Did you work a normal shift for Michael Jackson?
Yes.
What was your normal shift?
I normally would come in about 11, and that would fluctuate upon his movement. If he didn't leave the house, or if he was staying home, I would leave about 7 o'clock. But if he was planning on traveling or doing some traveling, then I was there until he left.
And when you say traveling, you mean running errands, going to visit people, shopping, for instance? One of the things that you did was to accompany him where he client's office, wasn't there?
Yes.
You didn't ask him.
No.
It wasn't your business to ask
No, it wasn't.
Michael Jackson where he was going. That wasn't your business, right?
No, it was not my business.
But one day Michael Jackson volunteered that information to you.
Yes.
He's told you, he said, you must think I'm crazy. Didn't he say that?
Yes.
He said, you must think I'm crazy for going to Dr. Klein's office so much.
Yes.
And you said what?
I said, no, sir. I don't think you're crazy, or I don't think much about it at all. I just do my job, and we don't. I just let him know that I didn't see him one way or the other, or with whatever was going on.
But then he told you that I'm going there because I have a skin disease. Is that what he told you?
Yes.
And that was the end of the conversation.
He elaborated on it slightly. He elaborated. He said, my doctors tell me that I have to go, so I go, You know, he elaborated. I don't remember all the words, but I remember him going a little deeper than that.
And did it make you feel uncomfortable to have him telling you this?
No.
No. Did you ever, during the period of time that you were at the house during the day, Carolwood, I'm referring to Carolwood, Michael Jackson's house, did you ever see during the day other caregivers coming to the house, other doctors, other nurses come to the house?
They're the focus of time.
I'll sustain the objection. You want to frame
Let's say in the month prior to his death. Did you ever see other nurses or doctors come to the house?
No. Not to the house.
When you took Michael Jackson, you knew that Dr. Murray would come in the evenings.
Yes.
When you took Michael Jackson to see Dr. Klein, Dr. Murray did not accompany you.
No.
He wasn't at the house.
No.
Do you know who do you know who Sherilyn Lee is?
Yes.
Who is Sherilyn Lee?
Sherilyn Lee, she was a nurse that was hired really more for his children. I believe his children were sick at the time. And he asked if we knew of any doctors or nurses that could help out. And Sherilyn Lee was hired.
You knew Sherilyn Lee?
Yes.
How did you know her?
Professionally.
She had treated you.
Yes.
And she is a nurse practitioner?
Yes.
Is she a friend of yours?
No.
No, she's just treated you. You knew her professionally.
Yes.
All right. I want to take your attention. Did Sherilyn Lee ever spend the night at the Carolwood house with Michael Jackson's house?
Not to my knowledge.
All right. Do you recall an event on June 21st, 2009, when you called Sherilyn Lee on behalf of Michael Jackson?
Yes.
This was a Sunday, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
But you were working that day?
Yes.
Do you recall why you were asked to call Sherilyn? Can you tell us?
Yes. Michael Amir told me that MJ said he was having some weird symptoms and one of his hands was hot and one of his feet was cold and that he wanted a doctor to come see if everything was okay.
Did you first call Dr. Murray?
No.
You just called Sherilyn Lee?
Yes.
And when you called Sherilyn Lee, did you speak to her or did Michael speak to her?
I don't recall if I actually spoke to her. I believe I didn't. I believe I didn't get in touch with her immediately. I believe I got a voicemail and I left her a message.
Did you don't remember speaking to her specifically?
Eventually I did speak with her.
Okay.
But when I initially called her, I wasn't able to reach her.
And what advice was given to you by Sherilyn Lee?
I don't recall that.
Sustained, partial answer, stricken disregard. We asked,
Did you have a conversation with Sherilyn Lee about Michael Jackson's symptoms?
Yes.
Well, and what did she tell you to do?
I don't recall, sir.
Did she tell you to take him to the hospital? Call 911?
No, sir. I don't recall that.
Later that week, did you tell Dr. Murray about the phone call to Sherilyn Lee?
I never spoke with Dr. Murray directly about Mr. Jackson's health or anything else.
Well, but my question is, did you tell anybody about that event?
About what, sir?
The June 21st, hot, cold, called Sherilyn
No, sir.
Lee?
Dr. Murray was reached. Dr. Murray was actually reached for that situation, and I believe he advised through Michael Amir what Mr. Jackson should do.
Oh, is that something that you have ever told anyone else besides us today?
Is what?
That Dr. Murray was reached?
I've never went over this part of the story. I mean, it really doesn't have much relevance.
Well, I think the judge will make that determination. So you first called Dr. Murray. You couldn't get hold of him?
I never called Dr. Murray. I called Dr. Lee.
Okay.
Because I was asked to call Dr. Lee.
All right. So then after you spoke to Dr. Lee, you called Dr. Murray?
I never called Dr. Murray, as I just stated.
You never spoke to Dr. Murray?
No, sir.
often did Dr. Lee come by the house? Or Nurse Lee?
Next to never, rarely. We could probably count on one hand the amount of times she came.
When you made the call for Michael Jackson, where were you? In the house?
I don't recall.
Huh?
I don't recall.
Were you inside the house?
I don't recall, sir. I know I wasn't inside the house, but I don't recall if I was there on the property because I received a phone call saying that Mr. Jackson is saying he has these symptoms. We need to contact the nurse or doctor, so we contacted Dr. Lee.
Well, Michael Jackson was standing there when you called Sherilyn Lee, wasn't he?
No, sir.
He was?
No, sir.
Where was he?
I don't know, sir.
But you remember being outside?
I didn't say that.
Were you inside?
I was not inside his home. I might not even have been on the property, so I can't say I was outside of his home or inside of his home. I know for sure that I received a phone call. I don't know particularly what my location was.
And the phone call you received was from Michael Amir?
Yes.
And Sherilyn Lee?
No.
Do you know if Michael Amir spoke to Sherilyn Lee?
No, I don't.
Day 2 trial, continuation.
May I have a second, Judge?
Hey.
You spoke to detectives